Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharon. I will be your host this afternoon, just going to go through some quick housekeeping items before we hand it over to our experts. Welcome to Ask the Experts about Digital Breakout 135, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management for Distribution and Manufacturing. Quickly, just some notes on how to engage with our experts. We see many of you are already typing away in our chat, but please do continue to ask your questions via chat. We will publish those questions out to all the attendees once they go through our moderation process. Use the thumbs up icon to let us know that many of you have that same question. We will answer those questions both in chat and verbally. And we'll also post some resources and links so that you can learn more beyond what we are able to answer during our session. Some quick notes about etiquette. This session will be recorded, so you'll be able to go back and reference it later on. We ask that you help our moderators. Please do not spam the chat and be mindful. Please do not post inappropriate comments. Lastly, we ask that you adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct. You'll see it is posted in the chat and on your screen at this time. As a reminder, we are recording this session. Photography and video on your side of the session is not permitted. And with that, let me introduce our experts. Shelley, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelley Bakke, coming to you from Fargo, North Dakota, and my role is to run all of our customer and partner programs and engagement through our engineering team. And with us, I have two experts, and I'll ask each of them to go ahead and unmute themselves and provide an introduction. Dana, do you want to go ahead and go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Bork. I am a program manager in the supply chain team, and I'm working with areas like sales, procurement, warehouse, asset management, and IoT intelligence.
Great. Lachlan.
Hi everyone, Lachlan Cash, Principal Program Manager, work with Dana in the supply chain management team, specifically focused on order management at the moment, but across the application space.
Wonderful. Well, you guys have it. You have two experts here that are ready to help answer anything we can with supply chain management related. What we'll be doing is asking you guys to go ahead and use the chat. Feel free to populate any questions. We're here to answer as much as we can and provide you with anything that we might not know in the future. I believe at the end there will be a link where you can post the question through a survey. And so if your question did not get answered, please make sure and post it through the survey. That way it gives us an opportunity to follow up with you directly. So we had a couple questions come in. The first question is, first of all, currently there's limited out-of-box support for mobile applications, and the chief management of any company works on their smartphones now. Actually, I think almost all of us are now working on our smartphones, it feels like, and they usually want to have the information quickly and on hand about their company. So, for example, a request that has been seen lately has been to scan an item barcode and immediately be able to see on-hand information. So this particular individual has tried many workspaces, but performance was slow. And since it's a large company, we didn't look to have either sales order or item on hand information available. Lachlan or Dana, are you guys aware if we have anything available on that from a mobile perspective anymore? We're looking at this scenario where someone wants to click on an item or scan the item and see exactly what the inventory levels are.
So a couple of suggestions there. One, if it's more the management of an organization, we certainly have the capabilities of publishing Power BI through mobile applications. So you could look at, if you're looking at more analytics sort of options, you could look at the mobility of Power BI and then providing that to C-level execs. We do obviously have direct item barcode scanning functionality through obviously the warehouse management app. There is also a capability through the commerce applications as well. Given that you've tried the mobile workspaces, if it was specifically just a performance issue, I'd certainly potentially raise a support case and have a look at it relevant to, if it wasn't a production environment, I'd raise a support case and have a look at it relevant to that. One of the other things that you could look at is the capabilities around power apps. There is some basic barcode scanning if it is just a basic item scan that you wanted to use just to avoid the data entry of the item number, then you could look at also building an app through Power Apps as well. I guess that's the specific suggestions that I can add there, Shelley.
Great, thanks, Lachlan. All right, Dana, the next question is for you as it specifically talks about IoT intelligence. So what is the best way to integrate with IoT intelligence? We have at our client-side machines with sensors, and then it gives the sensor examples. There are machines that manufacture caps for wine bottles. They need to be able to send real-time temperature and production count feeds and quality checks to the IoT intelligent and SCM. Per discussions and with the use of any PLM providers, but is there any way that there can be an integration to the sensor data to Azure without using traditional middleware?
So the actual scope of the IoT intelligence that we have in supply chain management is picking up the signals when they hit the IoT hub, which is an Azure component. So the piece, this is the opportunity for partners, and it sounds like you may be a partner or working with a customer that's trying to do such an implementation. The opportunity is to get the sensor data into the IoT hub. And there are some other Azure IoT solutions that may help you to do that. So that's one place you may look to. If the question is more about the actual formatting of the messages and how the data needs to be formatted to be received by the IoT intelligence, that part is documented on our website. So it's on the docs article. You have a full description of how to format the JSON and how to insert that information so that IoT intelligence can pick it up for you. So I would take a look at the documentation. I think you really have an interesting use case here. You're looking to bring in real-time temperature, and so we do have a quality scenario that maybe you may be able to use for that particular one. And it looks like that, as it's a quality check, that looks like it makes sense for you. And then I also saw, I think, sort of report as finished, where you're wanting to update the production of your items, which is something that we're also working on. So yeah, so I would take a look at the documentation. And as far as how to aggregate the signals within your plant, that is a piece that we don't provide that part of the solution. So we're providing the connectivity within SCM from the IoT hub and then into Dynamics and handling that integration. So you do have some legwork to do to figure out how to get the signals from the sensors to the IoT hub. And you have lots of options for that. So
great, thanks, Dana. It looks like this next one was more of a comment, but maybe I'll ask you guys if we have anything on the horizon for this that you're aware of. This individual would like to make sure that we have more places with embedded support for machine learning algorithms. Do we have any plans on that you guys have seen or that are currently working on?
I can maybe jump in there quickly. Within the context of Dynamics, being as part of the ecosystem with the Power Platform, there's a few different things that you could look at relevant to the skills within an organization. If you want a low code, no code type experience, then within Power Platform, we do have the Power AI capabilities. there is effort underway in terms of leveraging that data mechanism of having data from the Dynamics applications available that you could consume through Power AI. So that's something that you could look at there. If you've got more data scientists within your organization, you can certainly use the AI Studio that's available with the Azure tools. We have an example of that within the application, which is a demand forecasting algorithm. So you can certainly follow those patterns if you want to build your own models and then bring data back in the context of the business application. Certainly, we're looking at more out-of-the-box scenarios of those models where it makes sense for future updates. That's my quick comments on that.
Awesome. So I think you probably talked there a little bit too, but maybe if there's more that you want to extrapolate on about getting AI into Dynamics 365 finance and operations, particularly supply chain for you guys. Any recommended architecture or what are the best methods for AI infusion? You hit on it a little bit, Lachlan, but I'm just curious if you have any more that maybe you'd want to add to that.
Yeah, ultimately the key is the platform, and we wanted to make it. We want to make it open so that you can leverage obviously the data lake and therefore the consumption of data not only just from supply chain. It may be other applications that you have within your organization, because machine learning is really data intensive, meaning that you need the data for it to train your algorithms and learn from that point of view. So have a look at what we're doing relevant to data movement to the Azure Data Lake, and then that data available to the tools within the Microsoft ecosystem, which is Azure Machine Learning Studio and Power AI, for example. So the key there is that you know, what algorithm do you need to apply a specific problem to? If it's classification, you know, simple classification, a basic time series forecast, you have some of those capabilities within Power AI. If you need to do something a lot more advanced and you've got the skills within your organization to do data science, then the Azure Machine Learning Studio is definitely something to have a look at. We obviously make our data available through the platform to get that into the data lake. So therefore you could use that within the data lake and the machine learning tools.
Great. I want to give a call out to the audience too. Don't forget, you guys can use the thumbs up to like a question to get it voted, so that way in case we do start seeing a more influx, that we are getting the ones that are of most interest to you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to jump out of chronological order and go to the next one. Can you explain where supply chain is most effective? For example, what are the ideal company size? What are the problems we're trying to solve? Any efficiencies? Where would you guys say is the sweet spot when it comes to that customer for Dynamics 365 supply chain? This is a long answer, I imagine, and could almost take the full time. So I am going to time bound you guys on this one for just a couple minutes.
Sure. I can jump in first. Definitely within supply chain management, we're focused on those customers within retail, distribution, manufacturing, those customers that are traditionally inventory based, but we also do have service capabilities, especially when you look at the project functionality where you have projects that need inventory and the integration there, but primarily in the retail, distribution and manufacturing space, obviously heavily inventory based applications. So when you look at retail, obviously supply chain is the back end of that fulfillment. The commerce application has the front end. When you look at supply chain, we obviously have the order coming in, the inventory management, the warehouse management capabilities to fulfill there. So that's really where you're enabling the buy online through the e-commerce capabilities and the ship from the back end, because supply chain has the inventory and warehouse capabilities. When you look at distribution companies, similar sort of scenario, but often they're getting orders from B2B partners, and therefore you're managing and fulfilling those orders from B2B partners. When you look at manufacturing organizations, we do cover all modes of manufacturing. Predominantly the mainstreams of being discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing, and we do have integrated lean capabilities as well. Obviously, when you get into manufacturing, there's a lot of different verticals that covers those core modes of manufacturing. So we have customers from automotive part suppliers. When we typically talk about discrete manufacturing, we have companies in process or food, beverage. When we talk about some of the process industries, that can be chemical, life sciences, those type of verticals that need process, some sort of formula-based composition of product, or where you have something that's a co-product, byproduct type process. We have customers that use the lean manufacturing incorporated both in discrete and process, where you have moved a specific plant or moved part of the organization to pick up on some of those lean philosophies, and you wanted to use a Kanban board to drive work orders for the manufacturing order, or a inventory movement with a Kanban there, for example. The lean functionality is actually integrated, which is a unique capability, but it is integrated to our master planning capability. So you can combine the pull mechanism and the traditional push mechanism that you normally have with manufacturing. So those key industries of retail, distribution, manufacturing are obviously our key focus. The verticals is obviously where we see a lot of customers, and that's obviously where we can talk about a lot of differentiation there. But we have the functionality for most of the core verticals that are in that manufacturing space, as well distribution, when we're talking about distribution of those products. So whether it's high tech, electronics, automotive part supply, life sciences, food and beverage, those are a couple of sort of key verticals that we have customers in, but we have a lot more vertical coverage when you look at those different industries. That's probably a short version, Shelley. Hopefully I've answered the question.
I was going to say, maybe we should ask where we are not most effective. Maybe that would be it, but I might be biased. I don't know. Thanks, Lachlan. I think that was perfect. How about quality management? Do we have any plans to introduce a quality management app that would integrate with the production module? Right now, this individual is using the capability of quality management, or QMS, but they want to be able to use a quality app. Anything that we have on the horizon that we're planning for in this space?
It's a good question. We have had asks for improvement about that functionality. The existing functionality, if you're using it, does give us basic quality order, which allows you to track the output of a testing, in that you might want to just record that. We have done some improvements within warehouse management to improve the ability to route through quality processes. So there's some small enhancements related to the warehouse process to incorporate it with that quality order process, quality associations, for example. At this stage, we don't have a quality app specifically on the short-term roadmap, but we have seen that for customers asking for more integration to the shop floor control and expanded warehouse functionality. So that's probably where we're at. Our base functionality is really around the process control mechanism of taking the input related to quality and using that quality order to drive inventory blocking, for example, and stuff like that.
This might be a good time to plug the ideas site as well too. Ideas.dynamics.com is where the community can go and post ideas that you want to see us innovate on and build out as far as capabilities within the product. Also a great place for you to go and vote on it. Just like here, your vote and your voice matters. And so we definitely are wanting to make sure that we are prioritizing what the community is needing. So you'll be able to go out and find all of the applications, but in particular, supply chain management for sure is out there. And again, that site was ideas.dynamics.com. Okay, so yesterday, this individual saw a demo on the supply chain for supply chain management, and they saw the sales unit manager. They're asking if they can have more information or scenarios for use cases. Do you guys have anything that you can update on that?
I'm assuming that's the scale unit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is, I don't know if I'm not aware that we had lined up a demo for that. How about we do this? We'll put pause on that question for right now. And if the individual is still out there listening to us on this, please provide a little bit more information as far as what you saw regarding the sales unit manager. Let's come back to a IoT-centered question, Dana. So in terms of management, are we moving towards an IoT-centered workforce? And if so, what would be the cost and pros?
It's kind of a philosophical question.
It is, yes. It's hard for us to get our engineering heads around that one.
So an IoT-centered workforce, I think so. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to look at all of the industries that Lachlan just mentioned. The manufacturing, distribution, and retail have a lot of opportunities for IoT. So in retail, imagine today in retail stores that having sensors to tell where there's overcrowding or how many people are in a store or how many people are in a part of a store, and trying to maintain social distance, or if shelves are empty. And there's a lot of opportunities to remove costs by adding the IoT into the workforce. Same thing with manufacturing, and that's the use case that we are directing most closely in the IoT intelligence solution, is looking at the factory floor, and how do we collect data about production, about the health of the machines that are on the floor, about the quality of the product that's being produced, and how do we quickly and easily aggregate that data and turn it into intelligence that can be used by plant managers and by machine operators and by COOs who are trying to make decisions about what to do with their plants. And in distribution, we see it as well, and around the warehouse, trying to keep things safe, trying to make sure that things are in the right place, and that people are in the right places and not in the wrong places, not somewhere that's dangerous or is putting them in a risky situation. So all of the information that we can collect today using IoT is that there's just a vast amount of information that we can collect that would not be feasible for us to collect by sending people out to do this type of data collection. And it's rich data that we can look at over time and put machine learning on top of it, and train models to call out exceptions, and the opportunities are endless. So I think we've, as a society and as a technical organization, I think we see the power that's there, and I think companies want to take advantage of that. And my, I guess, philosophical opinion, that's where we're going. So
great answer. Thank you very much. Okay, so just as a quick time check for everyone, we have about 5 minutes left. So if you have other questions, feel free to send them our way. And let's go back to the question earlier. It was referring to our scale unit. And that's also a good call out as well, too. A blog was recently published, and the link to that blog is in our chat window, which talks about some of the pretty big functionality that we are releasing and announcing with Ignite. And one of them is our cloud scale unit, or what we've referred to in the past as the cloud and edge. Lachlan, do you want to talk about the best scenarios and use cases for cloud and edge?
Sure, I can cover that off. Yeah, the key there is that we wanted to give customers the ability where they have some critical workloads, specifically in the manufacturing shop floor interaction and within the warehouse, specifically related to, we know we have customers that use our warehouse. They have a truck rolling up. We need to finalize the shipment to get that out. And so essentially the cloud and edge gives customers the ability to analyze the network capability of users in terms of where they've got users connecting from into their D365 environment, use that to simulate where would be the best place to locate an edge unit, and then coordinate that through the Azure technology of standing up an edge capability for taking that workload offline. The key is that we use the edge to enable those critical workloads in manufacturing execution and warehouse as our initial scenarios for those sort of critical capabilities where they may not be able to survive with internet disconnectivity, for example. The key there is that it is an edge scenario. So the edge scenario augments the online scenario. So the idea is to work offline while you've got those intermittent connection problems, for example, so that you can overcome those to keep the staff working or supporting the business where they need critical support from that point of view.
Sounds great. We've got 2 more questions that are in the queue. So a reminder for people to add more as the last minutes are ticking down. There is also, if you think of something later, you can use the AKA link that is included in the chat too. It's aka.ms, and then it's the session ID, which is DB135. And we'll be monitoring that to get back to you. So Cloud and Edge, that was definitely one of the announcements. Another announcement was inventory visibility. Can you guys, either Dana, Lachlan, whichever one of you want to talk about inventory visibility and what those use cases are?
Sure, we can touch on that. The key capability that we had our customers asking for was, while we had good inventory visibility within Dynamics, and we use that for available to promise information through manufacturing, for example, they wanted to have that information accessible to external applications in their environment, whether that's point of sale, whether that's e-commerce systems, whether that's other external ERP applications. So what we've done is provided a new inventory microservice, which allows a more optimized inventory model, and therefore provides an API for external applications to be able to call to get an update of that inventory. And
Perfect.
Sorry, I just muted myself there to cough. But
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so essentially it's an optimized in-memory model, for that inventory accessibility. So we've done it both for performance, but also the ability to expand that query to other apps within the organization. Yeah.
Okay, our last question, I think, and this looks like a roadmap question. Mixed reality and shop floor and assembly line. Anything out of the box that we're thinking about?
Yeah, there's actually some capabilities, I think we also included in the announcement for Ignite, and we're working on relevant to the integration of our shop floor control and Dynamics guides. So if you have a look at Dynamics guides, you can have a look at those capabilities. That's quite critical. We already have those integration to our asset functionality, but leveraging that guides capability with manufacturing is something that we're enabling as well.
Fantastic. And look at that. You answered perfectly and on time. All right. I think that is a wrap for our Ask the Experts session. Thank you, everyone, for participating and asking great questions. We really appreciate it. We had some questions in our back pocket, but we didn't have to use them. So thank you for being an active community and having an active session. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of Ignite.